Darth Malgus, the Butcher, the False Emperor, the Dark Lord. Darth Malgus is one of the most fearsome and formidable Sith Lords that have ever existed, bred specifically with the idea to conquer and destroy the Jedi. The era in which Malgus was born was far different from the current Star Wars era that we now explore freely. Malgus was born in an era where the Sith Empire was powerful yet still in hiding, fearful of the watching eyes of the Republic as well as the Jedi. Malgus was bred and born with the sole purpose to conquer. During this era of the Sith Empire, Sith Lords were bred for specific purposes, some to rule, some to be ruled, and some, like Malgus, as pure brutes of the dark side of the Force. But Malgus was so much more than that, and grew to be one of the most formidable and terrifying Sith Lords that have ever lived, a name that would garner fear not only among the Jedi and the members of the Republic, but the Sith Order and Empire as well. Darth Malgus, whose given name was Verdun, was born on the Sith capital world of Dromund Kaas. As a young child, Verdun was stripped away from his true parents and given to an adoptive stepfather, who was completely loyal to the cause of the reconstructed Sith Empire, and who would regularly enroll Malgus in classes to hone his Force-sensitive skills, his skill with the blade, as well as to be indoctrinated truly into the philosophy of the Sith. Malgus was born to kill, and kill he did, destroying several of his stepfather's servants just because he wanted to prove to himself that he could. An act that you think would normally enrage his stepfather. Rather, his stepfather, as well as his Sith teachers, were very pleased by this gesture of pure aggression and inconsiderate of any life whatsoever, believing his life and the life of the Sith Empire was more valuable than the lesser creatures of the galaxy. These lesser creatures that purely existed to be dominated by the Sith. Verdun would eventually be selected by a Sith Master by the name of Darth Vindican, a Sith Master who he would later betray and kill because he deemed him too weak, as he saw his master be defeated by a Jedi in single combat. Believing that only the strongest deserved to live, Malgus killed his injured master, unwilling to care for him. Malgus would go on to become one of the greatest war generals that the Sith Empire had ever seen, dominating the battlefield with his sheer force of will. It was during the conflict called the Great Galactic War where Malgus would truly earn his reputation, a reputation that centuries following his death would reach the ears of Sidious and Vader respectively, two Sith Lords that would eventually dominate the galaxy completely, and two Sith Lords that held a great respect for the ancient Malgus. Sidious believed that Malgus would have been the perfect apprentice, and even considered the fact that if Malgus had been around during Vader's defeat on Mustafar, Sidious may have actually discarded his current apprentice in Anakin in favor of Malgus. Vader, on the other hand, realized the great physical turmoil that Malgus had endured during his long lifetime and tenure as a false Sith Emperor, receiving multiple injuries and augmenting his body with cybernetics to the fullest of its current capabilities and technology at the time. It was because of this that Vader grew great inspiration from Malgus and his fighting style, realizing that Malgus was an expert at Form 5 lightsaber combat, specifically its dueling-centric variant to Gem So, a form that Anakin had utilized during his time as a Jedi Knight. Malgus, though, was far more brutish than Anakin, relying on his emotions to fuel his hatred and power in the dark side itself. Sidious believed that Malgus was a Sith Lord far beyond his time, and would have essentially been the perfect depiction of Darth Maul. Darth Maul, a pure Sith assassin and brute, but he believed that Malgus would have been a Sith brought to its fullest extent, and the true potential of a Sith apprentice, no one that even Sidious would deem worthy of ruling the Sith Empire at any point in time, but rather a tool to be moved around. This is what Wikipedia states about Malgus. Darth Malgus had a distinct personality among the Sith. He was a frontline warrior who often utilized alien mercenaries to do his bidding, even when they were considered to be unreliable by the Sith in his time. Because of his interactions with many alien species, Malgus learned many alien languages. Malgus's personality justified his reputation as a fierce frontline warrior. He believed that he was born to fight, and the Sith Empire was the instrument through which he realized his purpose. To him, the cost of war did not matter regardless of how high it could be. Malgus perceived the Force as a source of conflict. Malgus believed that Jedi could grow powerful, but ultimately that they were fools. Malgus did not tolerate failure at any cost. After he killed Jedi Master Kaosen Durach and learned of Satele Shan and her comrades' escape, he felt disgusted with his Sith Master Darth Vindican for not assuring a total victory of the Sith. Although he struck the wounded pure-blooded Sith Lord down, he nonetheless savored their last victory together against the Jedi. Darth Malgus was an exceptionally talented duelist and specialized in using rage and brute strength to defeat his opponents. Aside from his overwhelming physical strength, which served him well not only in lightsaber duels but also in hand-to-hand combat, Malgus was also capable of performing acrobatic feats. To increase his effectiveness in lightsaber combat, his speed was such that normal humans found it difficult to watch his movement within duels. A ferocious Sith warrior with a terrifying reputation, Darth Malgus relished in raging in combat on the front line. He was personally responsible for the deaths of several highly skilled Jedi Masters. During the retaking of Korriban, he implored Jar-Kai dual-blade fencing to kill Jedi Battlemaster Sin Darach. Despite the latter's proficiency in the same fighting style and victory over Malgus's master, Darth Vindican, Darth Malgus's rage and clear focus gave him an advantage and allowed him to swiftly deprive Kaosan of one of his lightsabers, ultimately killing the renowned Jedi Battlemaster. Darth Malgus was also a talented hand at Force Lightning, and was even the pioneer of several deadly Force abilities within the dark side itself, being the creator of the ability known as Force Maelstrom. Force Maelstrom was a devastating combination of powers of a protection bubble, telekinesis, as well as Force Lightning. First, the user would use a Force bubble around their body, concealing and protecting them inside. Then, any loose objects / persons around the user would swirl around the bubble through the use of telekinesis. And finally, the user would devastate the objects by blasting them away with a shockwave of energy, accompanied by a surge of Force Lightning. Force Maelstrom is one of the most deadly Force abilities in the known Star Wars mythos, with Malgus being its original creator. Malgus was also a talented hand at both Force Grip as well as Force Crush, and was considered one of the best hands at telekinesis in the entire Sith Empire. Malgus could even hide his very presence within the Force. Interestingly enough, a Jedi on Alderaan used this ability to suppress his Force signature when he planned to ambush Malgus, but this was not effective against Malgus, and Malgus still managed to sense his presence and foil his plans. Hundreds of years after Malgus's death, Darth Sidious would obtain a journal directly written by Malgus himself. Sidious ultimately determining that Malgus was a pioneer of the dark arts as well as the way of the Sith, and believing that he should show this example to Darth Vader as a true brooding Sith Lord. A Sith Lord who dominated nearly every single one of his enemies, was loyal not to the Order of the Sith but to the dark side of the Force itself, and was a purebred fighter, a true warrior of the darkness. Darth Malgus is without a shadow of a doubt the greatest Sith warrior that has ever existed within Star Wars, a purebred Sith warrior, someone who defines the very definition of a warrior among the ancient Sith Empire. Malgus lived to kill and to dominate, and the Sith Empire was simply the instrument in which he enacted this purpose. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Sidious's and Vader's opinion on Darth Malgus? How do you feel about Malgus essentially being the perfect Sith warrior and one of the greatest Sith Lords that have ever existed throughout the entirety of the Star Wars mythos? How do you feel about his true purpose? And were you excited to see Malgus again in the Old Republic cinematic? As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and I hope you have a great day.